For years, drivers of IndyCar have been known as rivals. For years, drivers of IndyCar have been known as competitors, but always in a sense that they are sat behind an actual Dallara DW12. Here today, we kick things off in another form. For the first time, IndyCar officially sanctioned private hosted league here on RaceSport TV, on IndyCar.com, and supported by both iRacing and Racer Magazine. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Verizon Countdown to Green here on RaceSport TV and on IndyCar.com. My name is Will Vincent. I'm joined by Aaron Likens and Paul Jenkins, and we will be with you every step of the way of this coming 16 Street Racing League season. We start our journey in the desert at Phoenix International Raceway, where these drivers will be taking on 150 miles. And Aaron, we know that when we go down to Arizona, anything can happen. One of my biggest memories of IndyCar over the years has been one of the competitors here today, Niles Anders, going 3 wide into turn number 1.
3 wide into turn 1 is usually a recipe for disaster, and if you can go 3 wide and make it on the other side and have all 3 cars still pointed in the right direction, that is definitely a memory to savor. And for Niles Anders, he has pulled it off, and he is very good in traffic. And with this Phoenix track, this is our, I think, first time at the reconfigured Phoenix, so a lot of unknowns here this weekend.
And Paul, for the last couple of years, this race has been held on a Sunday night. For the last couple of years, this race has been held at Homestead Miami Speedway. It's a very different change where we are today from where we've been the last couple of years. Of course, it was always Nefri Arg, Mike Kitchell, who was able to be at the front of the field towards the end of the race. But today, this is a race where people cannot use the last 30 laps to get themselves into position. They need to actually do it from lap number 1 and consistently be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, Phoenix is a very tricky track, especially now that it's been reconfigured. It's very, very different from Homestead. It's good to be starting the season here at such a challenging track. You're right, and you were going to look at tire degradation this year. Some things have changed with the cars, and if you're going to be making moves on this track, you need to make them sooner rather than later. If this race has a green feel to it, you're going to see a lot of faith from these cars and a lot of strategy in play.
We have got drivers from both real world racing and also from the world of sim racing. We've got Simon Pagenaud here today. We've got ourselves last season's champion. He's joining us here today. That is Tim Holgate. We got drivers from the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. People like EJ Sturgis. And here's the thing, Aaron. I have commentated on many leagues over my 5 years being a sim racing commentator. I've commentated on 4 16 Street Racing League seasons, but nowhere have we had the kind of hype that we're about to have. And I can just think of the last week, 2 weeks, the amount of hype about this race and this series has been off the scale.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that compares to it. You're right. IndyCar on their Facebook has done media about it. Racer Magazine has done it. People are talking about this. People want to be a part of this. I don't know, the hype, you are right. And what are these drivers going to do knowing that so many people are going to be tuning in? And I mean, well, wow, the pressure for these drivers are going to be immense, but not only that, the spotlight that it's going to put on sim racing, and just the fact that, you know, we are going to have real world drivers race in the series this season. And where else, I mean, a person can only envision perhaps playing defense, trying to stop an Aaron Rodgers pass, or maybe throwing a fastball to Albert Pujols. But here, the drivers tonight are going to be racing against, well, we do have Pagenaud here racing tonight, and where else can you say that you are racing wheel to wheel with a true professional?
Indeed so. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Verizon pre-race show here on RaceSport TV. Verizon Countdown to Green with you at the start of every single broadcast. Qualifying starts in just about 2 moments' time. We shall be right back.
is it about speed? Do these rivals chase speed because they can? Or because they can't help it? IndyCar. The heart of racing. Go to IndyCar.com for live timing and scoring, upcoming race details, and to join the conversation.
The road to a 16th Street Racing League crown is a long one. The last couple of years it started over in Florida, but today we start off in the desert, in Arizona at Phoenix International Raceway, where qualifying is just about set to commence. Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this, the inaugural round of the 2015 16th Street Racing League here on Racebot TV, on IndyCar.com, on Racer.com, and on iRacing Live. Will Vincent along with Aaron Likens and Paul Jenkins here. As you can see, qualifying is already underway on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see that some times have already been set. We are having a look at one of the pro drivers. This is Simon Pagenaud in the number 22 virtual Team Penske car. He is out for a lap right now. We're going to ride it on board with him. Aaron, we're back. The gang is back together. We are ready to race. As Pagenaud almost glancing the wall there off before. That will hurt his first timed lap.
That's something I think we're going to see in the race. Turn 4 in practice. Watching practice has been a trouble spot where the banking sort of flattens out. This track being configured the way it is, it's very hard to have a very nice handling car on both ends of the racetrack. So it's really what side of the track do you want your car to be better at. Currently we have Christian Steele on top, but this is a 10-minute qualifying session, so some drivers may see what other drivers do before they turn a lap.
Yeah, we've got a couple of people going very slowly right now. Let's have a look at this one. It is Austin Esparti. We've also got ourselves on track Mikel de Jong. There you can see him in the Mad Cape racing car. It's a close course qualifying. Drivers have 2 laps to go as fast as they possibly can. There is Xavier de Carvalho. Well, Christian Steele 5/1000ths of a second ahead of Joshua Chin in qualifying. And, well, I need to take you on a little trip down memory lane here, Paul. 2 years ago, Joshua Chin, not far away from potentially winning a championship. Things didn't go his way. We expect him, PJ Sturgis, the likes also of John Porzek and the defending series champion, of course, Tim Holgate, to battle in it for a battle for a championship here today.
Yeah, we have a lot of potentials here in this year's field. A very strong field this year. It's going to be some great racing. I'm looking forward to a great year. By no means is Joshua Chin going to find it easy. A lot of excellent drivers, especially on the road course, where Joshua Chin normally dominates. I would expect that there are some drivers here that'll give him a run for his money.
There you can see Vic Cordell in P number 4. He is hotly anticipated to be right there in the championship mix here. Michael Peters, let's have a look at him as he works himself past start-finish line in the Miller Lite number 20 machine. It's so entertaining as well here, Aaron, to see all of the collaborations that's been going on in preparation for this series. And I'm sure Simon Pagenaud, for example, wants to give a bit of a shout out to Michael Peters and to Peters Motorsport Designs for the delivery that you'll see for him and Will Power over the course of this season.
Yeah, the social media hype for the series about paint schemes, even something as far down as numbers, everybody is taking the series. I don't want to say we got complacent at the end of last season, but, you know, week after week, it was just, well, there wasn't anything that stood out, but coming into the season with the paint schemes, with the real drivers, with the partnerships, I've been all day just waiting for this evening, and I'm just commentating for these drivers, everybody involved. This is we could probably spend the entire pre-race just talking about the absolute hype and just not talk about the race, but we do have a race on hand.
Careful. If you're going to talk about waiting all day, someone might come along and talk about waiting for Tuesday night, as they are now going to be. Our aerial coverage here today is brought to you by And One Design, the official graphics partner of Racesport TV. Let's put a lap on board then with this guy. It's Paul Jennings, yet to qualify the number 74 car in the Team Velocity Racing cars. He heads himself now through turn 3 and 4. Listen to the engine note as he comes down in towards turn number 1. Flat through 1, flat through the little kink. Flat through 3 and 4 as well, and in qualifying conditions we don't expect to see that in the race pool. But Paul Jennings moves from P number 31 into P number 31. He's actually struggling really badly, and looks like his qualifying is done. And now we're going to see a bit of fun. Martin Miller waiting until the last moment to come out onto the racetrack.
How very Martin Miller-like. Yeah, Paul Jennings has got to be really disappointed with that showing. He's got a lot of work to do to get up through the field during this race. Not a lot of time to do it. 160 laps, not a very long race here if it goes green. He's got a lot of work to do. But let's go ahead and watch Martin here.
Yeah, there you can see the Banshee Autosport number 30 machine as it heads himself through turn number 1. Through the kink he comes now through turn number 3 and 4. We're going to ride ourselves back on board of him on the exit of turn number 4, and Miller just going to scrape the wall. This is not the Martin Miller we are used to seeing. And well, Martin Miller, he's going to have to go and have another go then. This will be his final lap. And Aaron, we don't often see Martin Miller making mistakes like this.
No, he is the qualifying master. And one thing that I noticed between him and Jennings' car was almost too dialed in. There was nothing scary about that lap, but watching Martin Miller, he is on the absolute edge, as we saw off of 4 as he comes up, and it's very critical to get the angle off of 1 through the dogleg into 3 and 4. Let's see if he can keep it off the wall this time. Typically the second lap's the fastest. He cannot afford even a wall tap. Gets close. Okay, across the line it's gonna be at 8-1-0. Put him to 3rd.
That's nice there. So Martin Miller moves himself up into the top 10 after your first lap like that. That is exactly what you want, Aaron. You want to make sure you get a top 5. Pole, arguably out the question, but Miller has done what he needs to do now. He is good to go for this event.
That lap right there, I would put up there with qualifying at Indianapolis. He did not have any more cards in the deck. If he would have messed up at all, if he would have tapped the wall, that would have negated that lap. And starting 33rd, 34th here, it's not that long of a race. I don't know if there would have been time. We do have one driver. Don't know if he's going to take the track. Brendan Lichtenberg has not qualified yet. He finished 2nd in points last year, only 90 seconds to go in the session.
Well, we continue the Verizon countdown to green here on Racesport TV, and we'll do so in a moment where we'll look down at your starting grid. But Paul, out front, Christian Steele is a person not many in the IndyCar series have known about if they've not paid attention to what's developed over the course of the last year. But Christian Steele is the real deal, and we've got Joshua Chin alongside him. He wants himself a championship. Martin Miller has been absolutely dominant in previous year's series. Then you've got yourself Cordell. Then you've got yourself James McClure. Then you've got yourself Joe Branch. It's a stacked front end of the field here today.
Absolutely is. And about Christian Steele, I mean, he's been quietly working in the offseason, doing a lot of work towards getting faster, and it's certainly shown here. We'll have to remain to be seen how he does in race conditions. Of course, Joshua Chin's hungry. You know, he wants that championship. And, you know, I'm excited to see what's going to happen with him. Vic Caudill, you know, Vic, if you remember a couple of seasons ago, was pretty much, you know, kind of learning the ropes in a non-contender. Here is a driver who's really, you know, shows what happens when you put a lot of work into it. And a very mature driver, seasoned driver. I expect a lot out of him this season.
Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to run through your first starting grid of the season here on RaceSpot TV, and our grid is presented to you by Racer Magazine. Well, it'll be Christian Steele starting on pole position there in the number 78 ARX racing car. Joshua Chin will be alongside him in the Banshee Autosport number 93 car. Martin Miller on the inside of row number 2 in number 30 Banshee Autosport car. His teammate John Paulsek alongside him. Here's an interesting fact: your top 3 drivers are separated by 7/1000ths of a second. Paulsek just a little bit further back. We head on and back ourselves. Vic Cordell in P number 5, inside of row number 3. Then it is James McClure in the Snake Pit Racing car, the highest Snake Pit Racing team of the day. He's in P6, inside of row number 4. Another Snake Pit driver, that is Joe Branch. Then Brandon Traino, he is in P number 8. P number 9 will go to Terry Matinson, and then P10 will be Brandon Trost. We're going to cycle this grid back through you. Nars Anders in P number 11. He's a factor at a track like Phoenix. And you can see there, it is a stacked field here today. Alex Simpson has been dominant in IndyCar leagues over the course of this year. Even further back we go, you see names that many will know from years and years of competition. PJ Sturgis, for example, he ran the first ever World Championship Series in an IndyCar. He ran IndyCar for many years. He currently competes in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com. Simon Pagenaud for Team Penske will start in P number 31. 34 drivers are making themselves to the grid to start this race. Paul Jenkins, your final thoughts before we get ourselves ready to go green here today.
We'll keep a real close eye on the front of the field. Things are going to get very interesting, but there's some notable people in the back of the field that are fast but are kind of mired in the back here. Randy Crosno, Tim Miller, Tim Doyle, Simon Pagenaud, we'll have to watch and see how he does. PJ Sturgis, 25th, got a lot of work to do, so middle of the field is going to be kind of a crazy thing.
Well, here we are then. These drivers are heading themselves down to the track. They are going to get themselves one pace lap, and then we will be ready to go here on RaceSpot TV. So, here we are then. These guys are now on the racing surface. You can see it's a 1 lap grid here. Then we'll be ready to go racing to start a new season of the 16th Street Racing League. This year, it's gotten even bigger. Sanctioned by IndyCar.com, supported by Racer Magazine. Green flag for a new season of qualifying for the race is underway. 150 laps. Steele hits the gas pedal. We are underway here at Phoenix International Raceway. Drivers working themselves on a lap number 1 for the first time. 2 wide racing already. We're going to have a look on board with Terry Matinson in Banshee Autosports number 8 machine. And oh my, it's gotten busy very, very quickly, Aaron.
Yeah, you got to get the positions while you can. Well, the mantra is you can't win the race in the first turn. The thing is, with these tire degradation and the dirty air, right now is the best time to pass people. If we can get around 10 laps, we're going to see a lot of single file racing, and it's going to be who has the best car in traffic. But right now, you got to take the positions while you can.
On board with Martin Miller, one of the hot favourites here today in number 30 Banshee Autosport car. You'll notice just how quickly the laps tick off. Live timing and scoring is available. Head over to racebot.tv/timing. Miller then, we've been riding on board of him for this lap. The laps tick off oh so quickly, but the laps will get slower. Side-by-side racing between James McClure and Brandon Traino. 2 wide, 2 deep, in towards turn number 1, Paul.
Yeah, Traino's on the bottom here. He can't stay down there very long. You're going to see that, you know, it's actually not the fastest line to stay down there. So Brandon Traino does fall back into line here. A little early to start that, but Traino, notoriously a very aggressive driver. He's trying to make some moves early and get himself in a position here.
Yeah, there you can see Brandon Traino in the Steak and Shake machine. Steak and Shake are literally one of the best burgers you can ever have in America. If you've never been behind, by the way, you got yourself Tim Holgate. He, of course, is the reigning defending champion as he heads himself down in towards turn 1 once again. Well, We've avoided the first lap drama. We've got a slow car down, and that, I believe, is Simon Pagenaud there. He's already scored 1 lap down, and his car, he's brought it back onto the racetrack. And Aaron, this is going to be scary now for Pagenaud in that number 22 car.
Yeah, this is a track you don't want to go a lap down, and back out. I'm thinking maybe it was a black flag penalty because he came out. Car looks fine, so perhaps a start infraction. So he's currently 3rd in line, and he's going to go to the inside of Joshua Chin in turn 1.
Yeah, he wants to move. He wants to find himself a way back onto the lead lap here. This is a Simon Pagenaud that we know from the Verizon IndyCar Series. He is now 2nd in line. Christopher Steele ahead of him. And here's the interesting conundrum now. If you steal, Aaron, do you let him go? And does the pressure of having a Verizon IndyCar winner right behind you start playing into your mind? Because we all know no one wants to be that guy.
Yeah, nobody wants to be that guy. At the same time, though, the advantage of being up front, clean air. You are not cooking that right front tire. At the same time, though, when you have a driver that's kind of desperate to get back on the lead lap, they may make a move that they normally wouldn't make, and there is some good spacing between him and Joshua Chin, so it wouldn't be disastrous to let him go. At the same time, though, when you're out front, what could possibly go wrong? So, really got to weigh the cards here. The closer Pagenaud gets us, he's going to go to the inside, and he is going to unlap himself, which is something we don't get to say very often.
Wow,
Yeah,
that was an impressive move at Pagenaud.
Yeah, Pagenaud, we have got a little bit of smoke actually on the racetrack. We have a slow driver. I believe that may well be Randy Crosno. Indeed, it is there in the number 10 AOX racing car. We stay green for the time being, but Randy Crosno, a new season.
Multiple car incident in turn 1, and it looks like Michel de Jong is also going to be out of this race.
Yep, but we stay green for the time being. We just saw on our screens as well. We had ourselves Tim Miller and Tim Holgate and Martin Miller going side by side. In fact, you've got yourself right now Vic Cordell going side by side with Martin Miller, 2 former teammates into turn number 1. The DHL car on the inside there of Miller. Miller's car is slow in the early going of this event. Too wide, too deep, in towards turn number 3 and 4. We're going to ride ourselves on board with Vic Cordell, and we're going to see just how hard that inside line can be to run, because you always think inside line, shortest way around the racetrack. Not always the case, Paul, because yes, it's the shortest way around the racetrack, not always the fastest way around the racetrack.
Right, Will. The way the track is configured, it does. If you have to hold the car down on the bottom line, you're scrubbing off a lot of speed without, besides letting the car go free back up into the track. Not only that, if you stay down there for any length of time, you're going to really heat up that right front tire, and the car's just going to get worse and worse. So Vic made a very good decision to fall back in line and follow along here and pick a different place to make his move.
Well, we can have a look down our pack, and you can see Joe Branch scrapping it out there in your Verizon onboard here today, as he is in the number 34 machine, heading himself
battle
through
for the lead,
turn number 1. But we have got that battle for the race lead, Aaron. It's Steele versus Holgate. Holgate has just scythed his way through the field. He is your defending, reigning champion, and he wants a shot at the action. And also, look at that out front as well. Lapped traffic. This will be an interesting test now for Steele. Can he handle his car with the lap traffic? We're on board then with Tim Holgate through turn number 3 and 4. And Holgate's looking high. He's looking low. He's going to get himself alongside. They're going to go 3 wide in towards turn number 1. And I've been waiting all year to say this sort of stuff. But Tim Holgate uses the lap traffic. Holgate, Aaron, to the race lead.
And what maturity by Christian Steele. He knew that Holgate was going to go to the middle. He just let up. Let Holgate take it, but when you have a car go from 13th to 1st, you know that car is on the move. Just give way. And with this shorter season, well, you really can't afford a DNF to have a chance at this championship. So Steele, thinking big picture here, and this race far from over, but my goodness, well, I don't know if we've seen a car go 13th to 1st, and some people say, oh, this car, you can't pass. Well, Tim Holgate obviously did not get that memo.
Yep, as you can see there, just simply down to the inside of the AOX racing car of Christian Steele, and Tim Holgate for Snake Pit Racing now leads the way here at Phoenix. And look at the gap he has already, Aaron. 1.6 seconds in the space of about 4 laps. Yes, there's traffic, but this is insane.
Yeah, this last lap, the group that Pagano is slicing through as well went 4 wide in the dogleg. So right now, Holgate's eyes have to be trouble right in front of Holgate.
Yeah, and well, we all stay green for the time being.
Michael Peters.
It looks as though
yellow?
we are still green. We've got smoke on the racetrack, but we are still green here. As drivers, we've got one driver coming on towards pit road. That is a slow running car. Is that Niles Anders I can see there? Potentially coming onto pit road. Indeed it is. Niles Anders, a series veteran in the number 99 Foster's car. He is on pit road, but we're still green here, Aaron. That's the important factor.
And that's going to definitely, for drivers that do have a little bit of issue, are going to have a issue. So, interesting turn of events here, for sure.
Yeah, we're just trying to get ourselves a look at the replay. Bear with us, ladies and gentlemen, for just one moment. Our live timing scoring has just crashed. There we can see that. Niles Anders coming on towards pit road. But we are still green here at Phoenix International Raceway. And, well, now we've got a battle. John Porsek scrapping out with Brandon Traino. This is still under green flag conditions. I tell you what, the number 28 car, we seem to see so much of him as people scrap it out for positions here, Paul. Already down 1 lap. That driver is Xavier De Carvello. This shows out why, if you're 1 lap down at this racetrack, all of a sudden your life becomes very, very difficult.
It could indeed. You know, especially if they're kind of stingy on the cautions here. It's amazing they didn't throw the caution on that, but I guess they figured he was clear of the track and was able to get it off without any trouble. Yeah, it's not a disaster to get a lap down on this track, but it certainly doesn't help. And it's being so hard to work through traffic already. It certainly makes your life a lot more difficult. It's not impossible to overcome, but it is a challenge.
Well, 26 out of 150 laps have been scored here complete on Racebot TV and on IndyCar.com as we have a look then at some of the sights and sounds of this Phoenix International Raceway racetrack. And, well, Aaron, here's the thing. We have been green since the get-go. So often, everyone worries about what do you do if there's that caution in the first 10 laps. Now, these guys are thinking, what do we do if there's a caution now? Because we can see 3 wide. We've got ourselves number 34 machine there. Joe Branch going side by side. That, I believe, is with the driver. I can't even tell who that is on my screen because my timing scoring just broken. Number 2 machine there. Down in towards the kink. And these 2 drivers have been going at it hammer and tong for the last couple of laps. We're on board with Branch once again.
Yeah, you talked about what do you do if you get the yellow. Here's the thing. What do you do if you don't get the yellow? Very few drivers here probably practice, very few practice their green flag pit stop entry here. So, and thinking back 2 seasons, the championship was decided on pit road speeding penalties. So that would not be a way you want to start your season off, but the way you enter the pits here, if you lock the brakes up, you're going to come back into traffic. And for anybody behind, the track going into turn 3 is very, very wide. Throws up any trouble off of turn 4. One car can block the entire track. So when we get to green flag pit stop, should we get to that point, it seems to be a commentator's curse anytime I mention that, but should we get there, expect a few speeding penalties.
Running ourselves on board right now with Miguel Angel Martinez. And Paul, for the first time this year, we're going to get the magical John Gruden yellow pen up, because you can see that the front end of that car is not the way it should be. In particular, I'm having a look at that front driver's right end plate. That is not what a driver wants to have happen to them on a high downforce racetrack.
Yeah, any damage to the wing is going to be critical in this tight high downforce oval. If you find yourself with any sort of front wing damage at all, you're just going to be that much more abusive on those front tires. Luckily, if you can get in on the yellow or even on the green, you can replace that front wing without much delay. So as long as the damage is limited to his front wing, as long as you hold on here, he shouldn't lose too much time, as long as it doesn't get any worse.
Yeah, as you can see, Brandon Trainer right now, he is having a scrap it out with Christian Steele. And this is one thing you'll see over the course of this event. It's down to the inside then. We will see Brandon Traino going to move himself up into P number 2. He made it look easy, about as easy as ordering a steak and shake burger at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I will say, I have done that. I've got the stories to go with it. But Traino now up into P number 2. Joshua Chin down in P number 4, scrapping out of Christian Steele. One driver coming out of pit road actually merged relatively badly, that I have to say.
He spun. He had a slide off at turn 1. That would be Alex Simpson. A slide off at turn 1. Did it good to not hit anything, but this is something we see at this track. As the laps tick on, the car gets understeer. You need more steering input off of 2, and eventually you're going to have the wheels turn so much that when the tires do grip, well, you're pointed to the inside wall instantly, and that's what caught Alex Simpson there. He is very lucky to still be in this race.
Yeah, there you can see Alex Simpson in the Apex Racing UK car coming out of pit road then, trying to merge it back onto the racetrack, and there you can see Alex Simpson in the number 24 car. He had Vic Cordell just breeze right past him. He is still going.
Trouble. We got trouble in 3 and 4.
We've got ourselves
Alex Simpson.
Alex Simpson again by the looks of it. Will they bring a caution out? Joshua Chin is there as well. So Chin, oh, it's upside down on the round. We need to figure out what's happened. But Joshua Chin out of the event pool.
Yes, it's a huge disappointment. Joshua Chin, I'm trying to find out really what happened. Yeah, so he finds himself on the roof, and a big shunt. Looks to be maybe with Alex Simpson.
It is with Simpson. Aaron, go ahead.
No, Chin was lapping the car at Tim Miller and just thought he was clear, and Miller might have come up maybe a quarter car width, but Chin just cut it too close, got clipped. Alex Simpson had nowhere to go, so for Joshua Chin, 2 years ago Phoenix bit him, and once again the desert jumps up and bites him yet again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take you RaceSpot TV side by side very quickly. We'll be right back after this brief message.
It's been a very long offseason. Teams have changed, sponsors have changed, colors and all, but one thing that hasn't, they like to mash the loud pedal. Green flag is out on the 2015 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series season.
iRacing is the ideal platform for these broadcasts because we have the best racers, the best online racers in the world, and we have such a variety of racing, from NASCAR to Grand Prix style racing, sports car endurance racing. We do it all.
Since 2010, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series has been the absolute pinnacle of road racing in a simulated form. Great start then by Yakoda from the front. They're packing up behind number 1. They're going to be 4 wide as they come down into turn number 1 for the first time. Will they make it through that first corner? You can see them funneling through the center S's. It looks as though everyone is just about made it through. We have got ourselves some contact though, Rachel.
Side by side going into turns 3 and 4. Humpy's got the advantage, but Ottinger's not going to.
Oh, he got into him!
Ottinger gets into the 58, turns right into him, and that ends Ottinger's run.
We do a lot of live broadcasts now. Every Tuesday is NASCAR night, so on alternating Tuesdays we do the Peak Antifreeze Series, and on the other Tuesdays the B-Class Series, which is the Xfinity cars, and sometimes we'll even do some short track racing depending on the schedule. Every other Saturday we do the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, so the best road racers we have. And we also broadcast some special events, including the Endurance Championship, which is part of the Road Warriors Series. So we broadcast the Daytona 24, the Sebring 12-hour, we'll do the Watkins Glen 6-hour, several other races along there. And then, of course, the iRacing Pro Racing Champions, which is usually our biggest and most watched event of the year.
That is short track racing, and that's how awesome this sim is, Joe. That's something you see on TV on highlight reels, and we just saw it here, live.
We invite iRacers who are real-world racers, and they compete every December. Guys like Alex Gurney, Justin Wilson, Scott Speed, Ron Capps, the list goes on. Really some big name drivers from all major forms of motorsport. It's really neat to see them get together and race together.
See Laughlin up top, down to the ball, gets turned! Laughlin gets turned! Caution is out foul at the front of the field!
easiest place to find the broadcast is on our website, iRacing.com/live. So you can find some of our races on fanschoice.tv as well. A nice place to find iRacing broadcasts. You can also find it at mrn.com and peakauto.com.
You never miss a moment of RaceSpot TV side by side, and you saw there that you had Tim Holgate coming onto pit road. You got Chuck Eisenbach on pit road, Brandon Traino making himself a service right about now. There you can see Chuck Eisenbach in the number 87 machine completing a service. Brandon Traino is going to come out of pit road. Indeed, he's listed as coming out of pit road. You've had yourself Vic Cordell on pit road as well. In fact, no, yeah, he's just coming into the lane right now. And Aaron, pit stops. It's go time at a 1/3 distance.
1/3 distance, and Holgate came in about 3 laps sooner, so perhaps he ran just a little bit less fuel at the start, which might have helped him weave his way the way he did. Of course, I don't think Holgate needs any help weaving through the field, as he has shown just such awesome ability to not only work the clean air, but work the dirty air behind cars. But as we play out, Holgate had a very, very conservative pit entry that might allow some of the people behind him to gain.
There is the hippie himself, Jim McClure, there in the Snake Pit racing car. Got the Grateful Dead sticker on the side of his car as he comes himself now out of pit road. Let's see where he will fall in. A lot of traffic around him right now, and this is what we talk about. Pit entry, pit exit can be so difficult here. McClure will come out in P number 11 in that number 9 Snake Pit racing car. But out front, well, it's status quo. Your pit stop times themselves, 8.8 for Tim Holgate, 9.7 for Brandon Traino, 7.9 for Brandon Trost, as they are your top 3. As we get ourselves a look inside the car now with Brandon Traino, brought to you by the iRacing Forum app for Android. As let's have a look then. On board with the one and only Brandon Trost for the Rex lap number 55 of number 150 here at Phoenix. And I tell you one thing, there's a log jam ahead of him right now, Paul.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic, a really slow car coming up, but you can see he's going to have to be extremely careful to work his way through this traffic. He's got dirty air, he's got cars that are going at different speeds, and you just got to really just kind of tow your way through here. Brandon's doing a good job so far making work of this traffic.
While Brandon Trost there, you can see a lap on board of him behind Vic Cordell versus Christian Steele. Now, Steele started this race, of course, at the front of your field. We all know that one. He's fallen down 3 places since the drop of the green flag. He's going to fall down another spot because Cordell moves himself down to the inside in the kink in the DHL machine. Cordell now up into P number 4. Christian Steele down to P number 5. This is why we never make any form of notice here, Aaron, when drivers qualify, because we always know things will be so different once you've got about a third of the race in the books.
Oh, certainly. There are drivers that can be fast for 1 lap. You can have drivers, well, if we went by qualifying, 13th place for Holgate, he's not going to be much of a factor tonight. Well, 18 laps in, he took the lead. Christian Steele early, it looked like he was going to run away with it. Now running P5. All depends on the air, the tires. If you miss the setup and you're in dirty air, you may have the fastest car, but there is nothing you can do about it. If your car is aggressive on the right front tire, you may be fast for 10 laps, but once those 10 laps go, your car has nothing left. This track requires the absolute balance, everything working in harmony, and if you don't like dirty air, right now we have cars all the way around this racetrack. I don't think anybody has clean air at this moment.
Having a look on board the Treble 7 machine of Austin Espartee. He's one of your biggest movers through the field here today. He's moved up from a low place of P number 19 up into P number 6 right now. I want to give a shout out not only to ourselves but also to all of the broadcasters that do this at iRacing.com motorsport simulation. And here's an incredible thing, Aaron. Yes, we're RaceSpot TV. We bill ourselves as the greatest sim racing broadcaster in the world. But it's not just us that make up what is a culture of broadcast races now here on the iRacing.com service. You have ourselves, you have PSR TV, who cover the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series powered by iRacing.com. You've got the Global Sim Race channel, who themselves broadcast IndyCar racing over the course of the year. You've got Apex Racing TV, who broadcast themselves the Road to the Pro Series, which in itself is an exciting series. You've got the guys over in Australia doing V8 Online, so many more that I haven't got time to name. LSR TV doing the Pro Series of NASCAR on the American side of things. They're actually going up against us. We won't say too much against them. But so many broadcasters doing so much hard work to bring you what really in the last 5 years has been an explosion of announcing and broadcasting here on iRacing.com.
Yeah, I remember when I first dropped my name in a hat to say, hey, Will, I might be interested joining you. There was maybe a broadcaster and a half back then, 4 years ago. The thing is, yeah, there has been an explosion, but because there is a market for it. If people weren't watching, if people weren't interested, there might be one, maybe two, but all those names you mentioned, this is something that, well, iRacing and esports in general is a booming market, and the growth we've seen in just 4 years, well, that makes you think, where is this going to be 4 years from now? Especially if more and more on the racing side of things, if more and more professionals start doing this in the off season, why, this, well, this could be the start of something big.
Big trouble in the front stretch.
Yeah, we've got trouble on the front straight away. We're trying to figure out who that one is, and we've got ourselves Simon Pagenaud without a front wing, and oh, look at the cars just swarming around him right now. He is desperately trying to find a way on towards pit road, and well, it looks like he may well be able to do so, but there's no front wing there on that car at all. Pagenaud looks as though his day may well be done there, Aaron. He might be able to get a new front wing on that, but I can't see from this angle the tracking on that race car. And I do think back to Homestead Miami Speedway back in 2010, the last race of the season, and the Penske team looking at the wishbones. I'm doing exactly the same thing right now, looking at the suspension arms on that race car, trying to figure out if there's anything. And I'm looking here, and I'm looking here right now to try and see if there's anything that I can see.
Yeah, it was a very slow spin off of turn 4. Just got a little bit loose and put a little bit too much correction into it. Only the nose hit the wall, so he may be okay on that regard, as I think he's coming out of the pits.
Well, yeah, he should be coming out of the pits. And I'll tell you one thing, I want to turn our attention back to an incredible battle we've had going on in our front mid-pack right now. Going to go on board with our Verizon onboard here today. This is Joe Branch in the number 34 machine. Look at Joe Branch there. Was that 2 people in one corner? I think it was. He breezes past Martin Miller there. Joe Branch and that Snake Pit Racing car is a driver on the move right now, Paul. And I will say one thing. This looks to be a very fast number 34 machine.
Yeah, I think he may have made an adjustment in the last pit stop because he wasn't this fast before, and I think he's made a couple of moves here and certainly gotten the car under him. So taking advantage of that and starting to make some moves here. I've been watching Simon Pagenaud the previous few laps, and he's been having a push condition. I think what may have got him out was he was trying to correct that push condition and the front end grabbed on him and just kind of snapped it around. But unfortunate to see Simon in some troubles. It was very quick.
Having a look at Eric Davis all the way down at the rear end of your field right now. Davis has struggled here today. He started off in the top 10, Aaron, all the way now down in P number 18. He does, this is what I mean. Qualifying is one thing. We saw some guys literally hang the rear end of their race car out. There's other drivers that didn't qualify so well who are now moving their way forward. It's very interesting though to see the same names out front. Holgate, Traino, Trost, Cordell, they're all inside of your top 5, and they were all a factor last year.
Yeah, and Eric Davis, I believe, was top 5 in points last year. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Probably should have had that. I think he was 4th or 5th, and very hotly contested for the top 5. But the thing with this race right now, if you miss the setup just an inch, well, if you're just 2/10 off the pace, well, 10 laps, that's 2 seconds. 50 laps, that's 10 seconds. But usually if you start off 2/10, as the run goes on and your car isn't handling well, you're then 3/10, 4/10, half a second off. And I think that's what we're seeing with the likes of Sturgis, Matinson, Birkenhagen, Davis, while as Holgate has stretched his lead out now to 7.2 seconds.
Well, here we are. We're having a look then out front. Tim Holgate has had it all his way so far in the number 6 Snake Pit Racing car. Will be at the halfway point of the race this time by, as we ride ourselves along board with the Snake Pit Racing number 6 machine. Traffic hasn't been a factor at all, Aaron, for the driver of Tim Holgate. He's increasing that gap. He's running by himself. He's running himself in traffic. There is no stopping the defending series champion. He's got another car just coming off pit road there.
Yeah, that was, actually, I was looking, Brandon Trost makes a piss up, so he was off sequence, so sorry, well, I was trying to figure out if there was an issue with Trost's car, but he must have, I think he really must have started the run a little bit low on fuel, but we saw this all last season with Trost, doing some really oddball pit strategies, and every race I question it, but really almost like Young Al 3-4 seasons ago, somehow it always seems to work out for him. So whatever Trost is doing, I'm not going to debate it. I'm not going to argue it because it probably is going to work out like it did last season, minus Indy.
Well, at this point, we should be asking you to download IndyCar 15. However, of course, the 2015 IndyCar season is in the book. So what we want you to do is remember this sport. Then in 2016, download IndyCar 16, presented by Verizon. So we have ourselves a look then on board with Brian Simpson in the number 2 car. There's the thing with Trost though, Aaron. Overall, he's been good. It's only the big race situations that I remember him losing out in though.
Oh, the heartbreak last season. I think one of the, I won't say most dramatic finishes to an iRacing Indy 500 of all the various leagues. It wasn't a photo finish. It wasn't 4 wide like we've seen. But last year's 16th Street 500 had the last 154 laps green, and Tim Holgate had the lead by a good 8 seconds, and lap after lap, Trost was running him down, and you and I, we were calculating the fuel numbers, trying to figure out who had enough, and with coming to the white flag, Trost hit the wall out of 3 as he ran out of fuel. Holgate won the race, but that was the thing, just 1 lap. He miscalculated by 1 lap, thinking there would be a yellow that would have given him a chance to have a piss up a little bit faster, and it backfired. Some of the smaller races last year, he nailed it, but you're right, on the big stage, that those, sometimes you can really outthink yourself.
Having a look actually, and the number 11 machine of Tim Dorr right now, Paul, is about to be lapped by Tim Holgate. This isn't just any number 11 machine. This is Tim Holgate, the 2011 Indy 500 champion, almost being lapped there by Tim Holgate. But we can see that Holgate is being so careful navigating the traffic now that he's actually lost himself about half a second this lap, as we've got Matt Polensky there looking as though he will come on towards pit road in that number 75 Rockstar Energy car this time by.
Indeed, yes. And as Aaron was saying, you know, you just missed by a little bit on this track, and you're just going to get eaten up. And that's what we're seeing with Tim Doyle. I mean, it doesn't look like he's missed by much, but here we are. You know, Holgate's just about to put him a lap down, and it looks like Steele. Well, it wasn't Steele, but who was passing him? I think Sturgio's passed him.
Trost. That was Trost passing Doyle there, which, going back to Trost, he might have pitted early to get fresh tires, as now, yes, that's going to force Holgate's hand. Holgate's coming in.
Yeah, we've got
a
lot of drivers in. We've got yourself Brandon Traino in 7.5 seconds. Out and away he goes. Christian Steele gonna actually be very slow. Overshoots his pit stop there. It'll be Christian Steele. Christian Steele will lose a ton of time there in that car. John Porzek will almost beat him out of the lane there. 7.7 second stop for John Porzek. In fact, Porzek will beat Christian Steele. It's not been a good day for your pole sitter here today. Side-by-side, Steele will just about get out in front, but we talked about it a moment ago. We've got yourself your race leader on towards pit road. That is, of course, the driver of Tim Holgate, and well, there you can see him coming out of the lane right now. His pit stop time, 6.6 seconds. Basically, a splash and some tyres here. This strategy has just turned itself on its head, Aaron.
Yes, strategy here is going to be when do you pit, and let's see, we've got about 40 to 43 laps, so we do have one more stop, so you do have to make it to at least lap 108 about, but here's the thing. the window now, if you pitted now, you can pit, you make it to lap 128, but do you run your fuel all the way down, or do you pit early to get those, that about 5 or 10 laps where you just feel like Superman with fresh tires? Holgate's going to have a little bit more leeway in what he does, but for the people in the middle of the pack where it is just tooth and nail, nose to tail, you could gain 5, 6, 7 spots with the perfect strategy.
Indeed so. So here we are then. Lap number 90 out of 150 going to be scored complete this time by. And here is a look at your top 8. Well, they're all changing it about right now, so we'll give that one a moment to settle down. Don't forget, live timing and scoring is available if you head over to racebot.tv/timing. There you can see Vic Cordell scrapping it out with, that's Martin Miller. Those two drivers are scored 1 lap down. We're going to take your Racebot TV side by side for just 1 moment. We'll be right back after this message.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Never miss a moment of Racebot TV side by side, presented to you by Racer and One Design. Now, whilst we're away, we're talking, could anyone find a way of doing this as a 2-stop race? I remember we had a series last year when we were able to do a race last year, while we were able to do that at Sebring. Well, the two people we expecting to potentially do it, Vic Cordell and PJ Sturgis, have come into the lane, and 1 lap can make all the difference here, Aaron. PJ Sturgis, P number 14 right now. There's his pit stop time, 10.8 seconds. He has filled this car to the brim. He wants to do this without stopping again. He's the only person I can think of who might be able to do this on a 2-stop strategy.
Yeah, and everybody else would be doing 40 to 42 laps. That, I believe, was 50 laps. So he's going to be in the good, but we say this every race. I hammer this point home last season, almost every race. So for the season, here's the first installment. Whatever strategy you commit to, you got to stick to it. You can't waffle it. So if Sturgis, if he needs to run a little bit slower to extend that, he needs to start saving fuel right now. You can't get midway through a run and go, no, I'm going to do this strategy. Tony Kanaan several years ago at Pocono comes to mind. You cannot change your strategy mid-stint. So for Sturgis, a very seasoned veteran, perhaps one of the most, of all the drivers, maybe he has the most miles out of anybody on the track, so I don't think he's going to fall into the trap of it, but that's exactly what he needs. He started 25th, and if you don't have the car on speed, well, outsmart him, and right now that's what Sturgis is doing.
Indeed, and I'll tell you what, there's a couple of drivers that come to my head here from series past. People like Matt Lamberton, for example, always was on the wrong end of the strategy call because he was always trying to adapt to what was going on around him. And you've always got to make sure in these situations, Paul, that you are the person dictating what you do rather than being the reactionary force. Now, if a caution were to come out now, then of course people would react. However, that's not going to be the circumstance here today, most likely, because we've been green since the drop of the green flag here. But also, at this stage of the race, we know that everyone will come in. You cannot afford to basically stay out now if a caution were to come out and then try and put under green. That would be ludicrous.
Right, absolutely, Will. And, you know, as Aaron was saying, once you pick a strategy, you got to marry yourself to it. It looks like this race could go green all the way these guys are racing. So these guys have to have the mindset of, you know, not necessarily that we're not going to make another pit, but he who takes the less fuel and has the shorter pit stop can make a lot of ground on this track. So there is a certain amount of value to having to uplift less fuel in the car.
Just want to give you an update, by the way, and this is a big update. Aaron, I'm just going to circle this on the left-hand side of my screen. There are 3 drivers right now scored on the lead lap. That is insane. Tim Holgate, Brandon Traynor, Brandon Trost, coming into the season, arguably were 3 of our 5 championship contenders. They are all scored in the top 3 right now. If you're Joshua Chin, you are ruining the fact that you are scored 8 laps down right now due to an earlier incident, because you talked about it earlier. This is a short season. A short season. And what that essentially means is that one race this year is going to hurt you a lot more than one race last year.
Oh yeah, 2 seasons ago with the great battle between Holgate, Chin, and Cook, those 3 drivers, we were playing the drop game. We were doing, okay, drop here, drop there. Okay, if this happens this race, well, with a shorter season, every race means more. And Joshua Chin, he'll probably say himself he's more of a road course veteran, but well, with the season, you can't just rely on that. You got to piece together the ovals, and that little misstep lapping a car. Could the car have stayed a little bit lower? Yes, but at the same time, if you come down, that was just that misstep, and he had an issue here last year, or sorry, 2 seasons ago that got him back in the pack, and crash happened in front, nowhere to go. Another thing you should circle, Will, is Miguel Angel Martinez. Started 18th, he is running 4th.
Indeed, and that has been a drive of determination here today for Miguel Angel Martinez in that Team Velocidade car, which you see, we're on board with him, and he's actually trying to move himself up into a podium position right now. So Miguel Angel Martinez there, moving himself past Brandon Trost, exit of turn number 4, side by side, in towards turn number 1. And well, Martinez, we know he is incredible on the road course, but Paul, look at that. 15 places up today. He is your
Holgate coming in.
Performer, as Holgate's coming in for his final stop of the day. We'll come back to that in a minute, Paul. Tim, talk us through this pit stop then for Tim Holgate. Aaron?
Okay, Holgate's coming in, and this is a little bit early, so he only did about 30 laps on this stint, so that's what I was saying. When are you going to come in? He hits this stall beautifully, and that is a luxury. When you have a 10-second lead, you can be a little bit more conservative on your entry. It's when you're aggressive and have to hit it perfectly that you can overshoot. He comes out, and Trust also pitted, which he is a lap behind Holgate, which I think for Trust, going that stint that he did really hurt him, as that allowed Miguel, as Trost goes all the way to the inside. So 2 different pit exit strategies there, so we'll have to see what the stewards, what's up with that.
I do love the rear wing of Brandon Trost this year, actually. We're not allowed to mention what game that is, but you kind of know, if you have been a gamer at all in your life, you'll know what those stars represent. But side by side then, this is for Trost to stay on what would ultimately be the lead lap as Brandon Traino in the Steak and Shake car on towards pit road, Paul.
And Brandon Traino going to make his final stop, hopefully, for this race. And
that's a 7-second stop there for Brandon Traino as he comes out of the pit road. Lap number 119 scored complete. Traino, well, where is he in relation to the driver of Brandon Trost? Well, he's ahead of Trost, but of course he is naturally behind the driver of Tim Holgate. Miguel Angel Martinez then becomes your race leader here today. We've had a lot of leaders. Actually, now we think about it, we have had 6 different leaders. Tim Holgate has led 82 laps, Christian Steele 17, Vic Cordell 12, Brandon Traino, Jim McClure has led 3 laps each. Miguel Angel Martinez has led 2 laps, who will lead no more as he's on towards pit road, Aaron.
And this is going to be a very interesting way, the way this cycles, because he was really dogging Trust for that last rung of the podium, but Trust pitted earlier, so for these past 5 laps or so, that means Trust was probably half a second quicker. So what this means, so at the end of the run, is that Miguel's tires are going to be a little bit fresher. So big picture here, points, 3rd to 4th, quite a big difference. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm really interested to see how this plays out, on which strategy between Trost and Martinez pays out, as there goes Trost. So that's the difference between pitting early and not. It's going to be about the gap between the kink and turn 3.
Yeah, there you can see Miguel Angel Martinez, a 7-second pit stop for him as he is back out and away. Now, that means that Tim Holgate once again leads this race. We talked earlier on, Aaron, about the fact that you had PJ Sturgis on that potential alternate strategy. You've got Chuck Eisenbarth on pit road right now, out and away, 87 machine out and away in a pit stop time of 7.3 seconds. PJ Sturgis, well, nothing he can do right now. Looks like his day is done in terms of doing an upset. Side by side, McClure versus Traino. This is a P number 4 on track right now. And, well, Traino and McClure, they've had a bit of history. This time around, Traino is going to be the beneficiary, Aaron.
Yes, and the racing I think we've seen here today, Will, in years past, this track has brought out tempers. Lots and lots of tempers. But the racing we've seen here today, we've seen 4 wide and a lot of give and take. This race really reminds me of the days in the early 90s here, usually early in the season, the 200 lapper that IndyCar ran here, where lap traffic, you were always in traffic. It was a very, very busy race, but lots of give and take. That's what we've been seeing here today. Lots of passing, and for these drivers, when this race is over, I guarantee you all of them are going to go, oh my goodness, that was intense.
And here's the situation as well, Paul. This race has gone green for 127 laps. We've got 22 laps to go after the time that I finished talking, at least. That means that these guys are going to be sweaty in their race cars. They're going to be physically strained in their race car. The lap ticks off so quickly here. 2 very different parts of the racetrack, turn 1 and 2, oh so different for turn number 3 and 4. And it means, as we ride on board where with Joe Branch in P4 battling with P number 3, that these guys are absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, this has been a non-stop assault on these guys. No yellows, no brakes at all. And with this track and these cars in such close proximity, you're talking about intense concentration. We've been at this now for an hour. Just a little under an hour, and just continuous assault nowhere to rest, you know, other than the 8 seconds in the pit, and you're back at it.
One thing, Will, we haven't talked about, another dimension to the simulation is the variable tracks. So right now, this track with 100 and almost 30 laps on it, plus all the practice, it's very greasy, it's very slick. So if you get out of the groove, there's a lot of marbles out there, and your car is not really going to handle. So the line that we had 50 minutes ago might not necessarily be the line that we have now, which makes the margin for error much less.
Yeah, and for anyone who is slightly newer to racing, will understand, might not understand the fact that you can see there, you've got yourself a dark grey line on the inside of the corner. But then as you head yourself on the outside of the corner, we're having a look here from our aerial coverage, you'll see the marbles pick up, which means that if you slide out the grey on the kink in turn number 1 or in turn number 3, then essentially what it will do is it will completely destroy the handling of your race car, which is why these guys have added on the downforce here today, Aaron, because they want to know that they can basically hold that car on the inside line. As Brandon Traino just working himself through some traffic, he's actually up into P number 2 from nowhere. 3.3 second advantage now over Joe Branch. Branch in third, but he's got himself the hippie there of Jim McClure right behind him. Two Snake Pit Racing teammates battling it out for the last step on the podium. And a lot of traffic here, Aaron.
Yes, a lot of traffic indeed, and the traffic now gets even more intense with these marbles. If you, well, marbles and traffic, for those that know anything about racing or might have just, might vaguely remember it, I think the most classic example of marbles in racing, Hildebrand, Indy, final lap. You want a definition of what marbles can do? That's it. The difference between being immortalized at the speedway and finishing second.
Well, there you can see Branch as we have a look again on board with the Verizon on board here today. He's actually pulled out a bit of a gap to his Snake Pit Racing teammate there. It is now about half a second, as there is Jim McClure in the more demure number 9 Grateful Dead machine. Out front though, this has been Tim Holgate's race all day long. 94 laps he has led here today. We're just going to cycle through the field. You've got at the rear end of your field Eric Davis scrapping it out, Paul, with the driver of Gary Balkenhagen. This is Broken Arrow versus Banshee Autosport, and let's be honest, this is one rivalry which has been going on for many years. IndyCar, talk about IndyCar rivals. This is IndyCar rivals.
Absolutely, and these teams both, no love lost between them, and you know, respectful to the end. But it's been quite a rivalry with the Banshee Aero X and Velociraptor teams, and these guys are definitely scrapping it out here right now.
So we've got Vic Cordell. We do apologise there. Paul Jenkins is just rather ill here today. So I can see Vic Cordell in the number 33 machine. On board with him, he's trying to trace down the guy in front, which is Austin Espartee. Through turn number 1 they come, and well, Espartee is going to have to play defense here. Going to have to play defense more than the Colts will play against the Patriots this Sunday. And well, Cordell looking as though he may rename himself Tom Brady here. Down to the inside, he will go over the Apex Racing car. Cordell steamrolls himself through, Aaron.
Yeah, and to keep the Colts-Patriots thing alive, Espartee, sorry for this in advance, must be a little bit deflated about losing that position. Had to do it. Too easy. I'm sorry. I apologize.
But it looked like, you know, Vic made a real classic move there, the over-under. You see the Vic took that exit wide and carried his momentum through and got him around.
Well, we're having a look on board with Jim McClure right now. 10 laps to go here at Phoenix. And yes, if you're a Colts fan, we do still believe you might have won 16 races, so 16 divisional games in a row. Next game on the schedule is the Patriots, and it's this Sunday night. And I tell you what, the Colts will win, we guarantee. Tim Holgate is still leading by 11.4 seconds. That's half a lap, Aaron, over Brandon Traino. That's, I'm going to quantify it in that way. Half a lap is the gap that Tim Holgate has over Brandon Traino right now. Now, if you're Tim Holgate and you look at the results after this race, you're thinking, right, I'm a favourite now. What do I do next?
Yeah, Holgate 2 seasons ago, and he sort of got annoyed at this, but it was true. Holgate in these races would run a really good race, and one mistake would then exponentially turn into a mistake that cost him the race. Last season, he pieced it together, and when he wrapped up the championship last year, we were saying, okay, where does this put him in the realm of the IndyCar elite? And we really couldn't come up with an answer because, well, just as with real IndyCar, the cars have changed recently. So right now, he is I guess, the best of the best in this DW12 chassis. And right now, he's not just the favorite, he is the odds-on favorite. You expect him every race to be contending for the win. Not a podium, the win. And today, this is just going to be another notch on the resume. Still 4 laps to go. Don't want to give it to him yet. This is, as a driver, you hate this moment when you have such a dominated performance because you start hearing every sound in the car, every car around you, you're sure is out to get you. But if he can pull this off, this will just be another notch in a long resume of impressive, dominating victories.
And there's a lot of traffic involved as well. You can just see how much he's passed. You can see there's still 2 cars at least ahead of him. He can back it off, though. He can back it off so many ways. And we saw in the Iris.com Petit Le Mans the other day, drivers not understanding that they can just bring it slowly to the end of the race now. 3 laps to go, less than 1 minute's worth of racing when you put it all together. Tim Holgate, past 1, past 2. That is all of the hard work essentially done now. The Snake Pit Racing number 6 car, all he has to do is get himself now to the end of this motor race, and that involves 2 more tours around this racetrack. It involves him working himself through the kink for now just 1 more time. In towards turn number 3 and 4 he comes. He's got himself, well, 2 cars ahead of him. He won't catch him in time. The white flag is out. There is 1 more lap to go for Tim Holgate. And yes, look at that gap. It is 10.7 seconds. Through turn number 1 and 2. Through the kink he will come. Tim Holgate was dominant last season, taking his first series victory. And he comes back with an almighty performance here at Phoenix. 109 laps are led. Tim Holgate will win the first round of the 16th Street Racing League. Brandon Traino in the Steak and Shake car will come home in P number 2. Traino holds on for a good finish here today. Then P3 will be Brandon Trost in the Team Velociraptor car. We head on back. Vic Cordell, he comes home in 4th. Brandon Trost coming home. So we talked about Brandon Trost already. Jim McClure there inside your top 5 as well. Interesting finish to this event. As we can see, the rest of the drivers just coming past the start and finish line now. We'll get your full race results up in 1 moment as we take you to the Racer post-race show here on RaceSpot TV. We'll do that in just 1 moment's time. Waiting for the last of the drivers to come past the start-finish line. Aaron, fast-paced race to start the season.
Yes, fast-paced, and what is old is, or what's new is old again, or whatever that saying is. Holgate picking up wherever he left off. Old adages aside, what a dominating performance. Only 2 cars on the lead lap. And I think that does say something. To finish on the lead lap, Brandon Traino, 11 seconds over 150 laps. Not that far off the pace, so expect him throughout the season to be a factor. Trost, McClure, Caudell, top 5. Branch, a good run in 6th. Sturgis played the strategy game up 25th to 7th. Great thing there for him, making a lot out of nothing. And points-wise, this is going to shape up to be a very good season. We're off to a great start, and one thing I'm going to take away from this race is all the great side-by-side and give-and-take racing we saw here this evening. It was very fun to watch. This was a very fun race to spectate.
The reverse victory lap there for Tim Holgate in this Snake Pit Racing car. Let's have a look then at your final race results here from round number 1 of the 2015 16th Street Racing League, as it is going to be a win for the driver of Tim Holgate in the Snake Pit Racing car. Brandon Traino in Broken Arrow will come home in 2nd. Brandon Trost in 3rd. Jim McClure in 4th. And then Vic Cordell, who rounds out your top 5. And here's an interesting fact. You only had yourself a couple of drivers on your lead lap. They were Tim Holgate and Brandon Traino. Green all the way here. P number 6, Joe Branch. P7, PJ Sturchos. P8, Austin Espartee. P9, Matt Polensky. And then Martin Miller rounds out your top 10. We'll cycle the rest of the results up through your field. Disappointing day for a couple of people, particularly for Tim Doyle, I would say, Aaron. He was one driver we expected to be a little bit closer to the top 5.
He is a short track specialist, and, well, that might be back to the old configuration when this was more of a bull rank. Now with the extra banking, it is a little bit faster, but qualified 30th, finished 14th, still a net gain of 16. Not quite the hard charger of the race, missed out by 2 by my quick scanning, but still 2 laps down, off the pace. Not the start, but yet people did have a worse day, so not catastrophic, but for Tim Doyle, who's used to running for wins and championships, probably not what he hoped for.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside for just one moment. We'll be back with the Racer post-game show, post-race show even, after this message. You're watching a special presentation of RaceSpot TV on IndyCar.com.
is it about speed? Do these rivals chase speed because they can? Or because they can't help it? IndyCar. The heart of racing. Go to IndyCar.com for live timing and scoring, upcoming race details, and to join the conversation.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Racer post-race show here on RaceSpot TV as the first round of the 2016 16th Street Racing League is in the books. And Aaron, what a race we have had here today. Tim Holgate, the dominant factor, leading over 2/3 of the race here today.
Yeah, leading 2/3 of the race, and not only that, whatever he has working on his car setup, 13th to 1st in just 18 laps. Before the race, I thought, okay, maybe other people have caught up. Maybe his setup, just what was up. But very quickly, he quelled any thoughts that this year wouldn't be as dominant as last year. He had a car that worked in clean traffic, worked in the dirty air, just sliced through the lap traffic without any issues, always putting his car exactly where he needed to be and showing why he is a champion.
Well, we're going to get a word with Tim Holgate and a plethora of drivers in just a moment or so's time. But Paul, the thing about today's race, it was fast. We're going to go to some racetracks that aren't going to be as fast, but these drivers are going to have to remember that they need to keep their cool about them. The good news is for us is that we did see that in the first race of the season.
Yeah, very nice to see well-disciplined racing going on. Everyone was very respectful of each other. This track can be extremely difficult, especially with the exit to turn 4 into that tight front stretch. And good to see these guys all giving each other a lot of room and driving respectfully. This was a very intense race. You had mentioned it during the broadcast that traffic is a huge factor. These guys were in it the entire time, and it was, I mean, just 55 minutes of just intense concentration. These guys did a great job.
Our aerial coverage here today has been reported to you, by the way, by And One Design. They're the official graphics partner of RaceSpot TV. As we get ourselves then a quick look at hop above here at the Jewel in the Desert, known as Phoenix International Raceway. And our onboard coverage here today, well, that one has been brought to you by the iRacing.com forum app for Android. Gonna get ourselves now the chance to talk with your race winner here on the RaceSpot TV post-race show, presented to you by Racer. Tim Holgate, seems as though it was just a couple of months ago I was saying this to you. Welcome to iRacing.com Victory Lane.
Hey, Will, it's great to be back here on the podium on the top step. Good to see you guys. Wow, that was one heck of a fun race. I mean, that was a lot of green flag running to the end. That was just beautiful.
It was fast. It was furious here today at Phoenix International Raceway. 150 laps. She led 109 of them. It seemed to be that it was the key parts of the race, just like last year. The end of a stint, the pit stop entry, the pit stop exit, where you were the most dominant here today.
Yeah, we do a lot of work on that. I mean, you can gain a lot of spots and lose a lot of spots on pit road, particularly on your in-lap, your entry, and your exit, and your out-lap. So if you don't practice those and you're in close quarters, you're going to end up going in first and coming out in third. So you do a lot of work on those when the field is tight as this, because it's the little things that end up making for race wins.
Well, the fact that this race went green the entire way, do you think that helps you? Do you think that bunching the field back up would have hindered you in any sort of way? Because what we did see was that it took you a couple of laps at the start to get settled. And then within about that middle stint, it was a case of, well, just scything through the field from P9 up until about P number 1 in the space of 10 laps.
Yeah, the car was absolutely hooked up. I got to thank the team, the guys who worked on the setup all this week, because it just went through traffic like it wasn't there at the start. You know, it became obvious that we could really push hard, and once the field started to spread out a little bit, it became taking down single cars at a time was pretty easy. Once you get behind a pack of guys, the downforce kind of falls off a little bit, and we were having a little bit of trouble there. But yeah, I mean, once we got into clean air, it was beautifully fast, and I was glad no yellows came out. That meant I didn't have to bunch up at all. I thought our pit stop strategy was pretty good. We were a little bit off on our fuel number, so we thought we were going to have to save a little bit, and then we altered our strategy at the end, but it all worked out great.
Well, round number 1 is in the books. You won the race, and we were talking about this at the top of the broadcast, that a win here is worth more than last year. The reason why, because there's less races. So how do you feel now about getting back-to-back championships? Is it too early for us to mention that to you?
Oh, it's way too early. There's a lot of great drivers in here this year for the league. I mean, there's going to be a mix of ovals and road courses. I obviously go well on both. We're hoping we can do a repeat. That's absolutely what we're here to do, but it is way too early. I mean, you're not going to see this kind of difference in speeds at the road courses. I suspect you're going to see wheel-to-wheel racing at the front, at the back, at the middle, the entire way. You're not going to see a dominating win anywhere, I think, probably for the rest of the season.
Final question, how cool was it to be on the same racetrack as Simon Pagenaud for the first time here today?
You know what? I've raced with Simon on iRacing before. Me and him have had great battles. I met him at Mid-Ohio a couple times. So it was great to see him back on track. It was a little bit disappointing to see him have some trouble early on. Really looking forward to racing with him on some of the road courses if he can make it. It's great to see him.
Pagenaud, of course, came home in P number 22 here today. Tim Holgate, Snake Pit Racing, back to the top of the timing stands. Shout out to anyone you want to give a shout out to.
Absolutely got to give a shout out to the guys who are putting this lead together this year. So shout to Brian Simpson and Mike Kitchell and to IndyCar for putting this up and for bringing the real guys in. Definitely want to thank the real racers. I mean, it's great to have you guys out here. If you guys need any help with anything, just let us know. I mean, we'll give you as much assistance as you need.
Well, congratulations. Tim Holgate is your winner here today. Going to hand it over to Aaron Likens as we continue the Racer post-race show here. And Brandon Traino stood by with Aaron Likens.
So, Brandon Traino, Fast and Furious race. Take us through your thoughts about it.
Yeah, we were pretty good. We just got mired back in traffic on an initial start, and Holgate got around us. And then once Holgate was going, it was kind of an uphill battle from there on out. Once I got around at the second, I kept that gap. I don't know, it was like 10 to 11 seconds. We tried to play the strategy a little bit, but couldn't get it to work. And by the time we realized it wouldn't work, we had to change the strategy up and lost a little bit more time. But overall, really happy with what car we had today.
Happy with it. Had the strategy worked the right way, would you have had anything for Holgate?
That's the $1 million question. We thought it might have worked. We could have two-stopped it. We believe that if somebody could two-stop it but still be competitive on speed, that they would have won the race. But we realized that we couldn't do it, so ultimately we finished second. But it's still a good points day for us.
Lap traffic was intense out there. Lots of give and take, but during the race, was there any time to relax, or was this a very intense 150 laps?
Yeah, it was actually really, really intense. The only time I had time to relax was on pit road, but even then I was trying to make sure I got the right fuel numbers and adding the right amount of fuel and not speeding and everything like that, resetting the weight jacker. Just, it was all around an intense race.
Very busy race, great finishing position. What's your hopes rest of the season? Think you're going to be able to build on this and contend for the title?
That's the ultimate goal. I mean, second place isn't bad at the start of the race. It's a really good points day. We've always been quick at Barber, and we've made an alliance with another team, so we should be really good.
Well, an alliance, so, well, this is your time. Shout-outs. Who do you want to shout out to?
Yeah, as always, all the guys at Broken Arrow and all the guys on Apex. We worked really hard this week and found some really good speed, and I think we're going to be a really dominant force to be reckoned with this season.
Well, typically if they say you finish on the lead lap, that's not too much to write home about, but tonight only 2 drivers on the lead lap. Brandon Traino was one of them, finishing second, and a great start to the season.
Indeed. As the Racer post-race show will continue, we're going to hand it over now to Paul Jenkins, and he has stood by with Brandon Trost. Trost, of course, has been up and down the field here today, Paul.
And Brandon, a very tough race for you today, and of course starting kind of midfield, working your way up to third. Give us an idea how the start of that race worked out for you.
Well, I didn't. There was something wrong with my computer. I was only getting about 60 frames per second instead of 65, so I was having a little bit of jitters and lost a couple spots early on. And then, everything happened. Pit cycle went through and stuff worked out.
Well, it looked like you were on a bit of a different pit strategy. You kind of came in a little bit early and
anything going on that was going to stop the race for any reason. So what we did was we went 38 laps 38 laps, 38 laps.
Okay, and that kept of course, with that lighter fuel load, the car handled a lot better. Is that correct?
Yes, it kept you lighter on the fuel, and then the other advantage was getting fresh tires very quickly.
So, Brandon, talk to me a little bit about the fact that this race did go green the entire way, and the intensity out on the track. I mean, this is a 1 mile track with 30-something cars on it. There's cars everywhere. Did you ever have a chance to just take a break and a breath, or was it intense all the way around?
I got a couple breaks once.
And Brandon, it's a solid race, third place. How do you feel going into the next week?
Feeling pretty good. I think what laps me, but before that, no.
And Brandon, it's a solid race, third place. How do you feel going into in the next week?
Feeling pretty good. I think where's next week again?
We're going to Barber, I believe.
Well, I'm not great at road courses, but we'll see how that goes.
And Brandon, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Miguel for making the set, Paul for making the set, and that's pretty much it.
All right, Brendan, solid race. Will, I'll hand it back to you of the booth.
Cheers. And now I'm going to talk to Jim McClure here on RaceSpot TV and on IndyCar.com. Jim, it has been an interesting race for you here today. I think the fact that cautions were lacking were the thing that kind of helped your entire team here, as you were able to move yourself up easily into a top 10 contention with about 50 laps to go.
Well, we started up front and at some point realized that we were going to be on the edge of making it. I actually ran myself out of fuel on that first stint, coasted down pit lane, which actually helped me at the end. So I actually did it on 2 stops. But we were up front. We had a great car, same car as Tim had, and he was dominant. And all in all, first of all, I got to thank Brian Simpson and Mike Kitchell for making this happen. Just to be able to pass Simon Pagino on the virtual track is something I never imagined I'd be able to do.
Well, you were able to get yourself, we're just going to have a look there at the top 10 results once again, powered by And1 Design. You came home P4 here, just a little bit away from the podium, but yourself, Joe Branch, had yourself a great scrap for the last 50 laps, which didn't ultimately go the way that Joe Branch would have wanted. But how tough is it to be that close to a podium, but you to finish just outside of it?
It's like those guys went by me far enough ahead that I knew I was out of it. The one disappointment is having a car that was capable of going fast and have to slow roll it for 2 stints. But, it was a decision made. I've never really tried the fuel strategy before, and it was actually kind of fun to do, not knowing whether we were going to make it or not. There was arguments in the team speak about whether we could make it or not, but it was a great time.
And of course, it's winter. It means you guys get back together. It means that you get racing once again. And I think one thing that we've learned out of today is that, yes, you can have 34 drivers run at Phoenix International Raceway. And it's not necessarily the quantity of drivers that you have on the racetrack. It's the respect of the drivers that you have running in the race. That's the important thing.
No question, for 150 laps, there wouldn't, usually there's 1 or 2 times where people do dicey things and it gets your miss going a little bit, but I can honestly say that didn't happen. I think we all took care of each other pretty well, and it was a great time.
Well, before you let you go, Jim, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
I got to thank Niles Anders, Tim Holgate, Vic Cottle, who do most of the heavy loading on setups. Timmy Doyle helps us out. Once again, Mike Kitchell and Brian Simpson for making this happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim McClure here as the racer post-race show continues. Going to hand it back over to Aaron Likens, and he stood by with Vic Cordell.
Vic, a very, very active 150 laps out there. Take us through your race.
Hey, Aaron, how you doing? We started out, I had it stacked, a lot of downforce on it to move through traffic. I'm glad I did. It was a lot of green flag there, so it worked out pretty good for having all that downforce.
With the downforce, yeah, that's other drivers have mentioned 150 laps constantly in traffic. Was it a challenge to just keep control of the car, keep control of your emotions if you had 2 cars lap down stacked up in front of you with nowhere to go? Was it active, and was it difficult to just keep everything in check?
I think everybody, there was a lot of give and take there, and when I was passing somebody, I wanted to make sure I gave them plenty enough room, and us both make it through it safely and keep on going, and not bring out any cautions and finish good at the end of the day.
With the higher downforce, dirty air was a big thing. Also, were the marbles, if you got out of the groove, did that affect the car out there today?
I had a little problem coming off 4 down there on the bottom. If I was passing somebody, if they gave me the bottom, coming off it wanted to step out a little bit. Had to go a little bit negative on the weight jacker later in run, but it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad. Was there anything you could have done during the race to maybe finish a little bit higher, or is what you had what you had?
Oh, I could have probably trimmed out a little bit more, but I thought, top 5 or 10 and, just be consistent and carry on.
With the shorter season, points mean more. Would that be something that may have influenced you being on a little bit more on the conservative side?
Yeah, because the road courses, mid-pack to the back for me, top 5.
Well, we go to Barber next week, road course. Thoughts?
A lot of practice. Going to start tomorrow night.
A lot of practice. Okay, anybody you want to thank here this evening?
I'd like to thank Niles and Tim for working on the setup with me, and then I'd like to thank Mike Kitchell and Brian Simpson for bringing IndyCar in this, and Racer Magazine, and you guys for broadcasting. I think we got something really good here, and I hope we continue to do it.
Well, another grateful driver, Will. That's Vic Caudell.
Indeed it is. A couple more people to talk to. First of all, the guy he started on a pole position, Christian Steele, didn't have the race he wanted. He stood by with Paul Jenkins.
Thanks, Will. And Christian, kind of a up and down race for you. Started on the pole, and it looks like things kind of went a little sideways on you. What was going on towards the start of the race there?
Well, we started out with a lot of not a lot of wing, and everybody else seemed to, and we were really getting blown away past 10 laps or so.
And with the track conditions out there, did you feel that maybe the tire wear was a factor going into this also?
Yeah, the track temperature was really high, and I think we were better overall in the cold weather. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, as we were talking in the booth earlier, of course the track does get pretty greasy as the race goes on. There was a lot of high utilization too. So did you feel the track changing as the race went on? Was it getting worse?
I actually felt a bit more confident, but that may have been a result of me changing the wings. And I just felt better at the end.
And speaking of the traffic, of course, this race went green start to finish, something you probably didn't anticipate. And did you find yourself able to relax at all out there?
To be honest, not really. It was, once you pass one car, you're dealing with another in about a second. And everybody's racing each other. It was pretty tough.
So we're going to Barber next week, road course. How are you feeling about that?
I feel pretty good. I feel like, be ready for these road courses. I'm going to put a lot of time into it.
Well, very good. Christian, anybody you want to thank or give a shout out
to? Thanks to everybody at Banshee AeroX. They did a great job, and I'll be looking forward to next week. And thanks to everybody that runs this league.
All right, Christian Steele, AeroX driver with an 11th place finish. Got some work to do to catch up, but a lot of racing left to go. Will, back to you.
Thank you very much, Paul. We're going to wrap things up here on the Racer Post-Race Show after this message. You're watching a presentation of RaceSpot TV on IndyCar.com. This is the 16th Street Racing League. We'll be back in just one moment's time.
What is it about speed? Do these rivals chase speed because they can? Or because they can't help it? IndyCar, the heart of racing. Go to IndyCar IndyCar.com for live timing and scoring, upcoming race details, and to join the conversation.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Racer post-race show from this, the first round of the 16th Street Racing League on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live, IndyCar.com. So, final thoughts here, Paul. First race of the season, it's been fast. Next week, we go to Barber. It's not going to be fast, it's going to be technical. Passing's going to be at a premium. Strategy will be important. And these guys, they need to start practicing now for next week.
Barber is a very tricky track, you know, and especially with the changing track conditions we're going to be having. We're going to see a very, very different flavor of race than we did today, and a lot more strategy is going to play out. But I do think we're going to see some pretty good battling on the track. We have a lot of very accomplished road racers here, and some guys are going to be hungry for better finishes that were disappointed today.
Aaron, what we do know is that Tim Holgate has come back out of the gun charging. We knew that Holgate was going to be one of the championship favourites. We knew that there was going to be a couple of others. There was going to be likes of Brandon Traynor, of Brandon Trost, of Christian Steele, of Joshua Chin. But Chin, he's fallen down at the wayside in the early going. He arguably, and I'm going to talk in college football terms here, one bad race and you're almost out. You know, it's like Michigan football. Yes, they've locked out 3 teams in a row, but it's that first game that defines their season. Does that now exist for Joshua Chin?
Oh, well, one thing about traditional college football, a loss earlier in the season doesn't hurt as bad as a loss later in the season. Don't count Joshua Chin out yet. A road course veteran, I would say he is a world-class racer on the road courses. If he can piece it together, well, he's now racing without a safety net. He cannot afford another race like tonight. What that will mean is he has to be aggressive, but he can't cross that line. Holgate sort of has ace in the sleeve. He can maybe take a little bit of a strategy risk. Chin has to run fast, but he has to bring it home. He can't risk a DNF. So for Chin, yes, it's tricky, but a loss earlier in the season traditionally isn't as bad as a loss later in the season. Don't count him out yet.
What we'll do, and Josh Chin, by the way, said he's going to race his little cotton socks off when we get to Barber in a week's time. What we're going to do as well, we're going to buy him some Jim Harbaugh car keys. Hopefully, that might end up giving him a bit of a change in fortune. Now, the interesting thing about today here, Paul, is that of those who started the race, we had ourselves 23 of them finish the race. We had only a couple of people, though, on the lead lap. That's to be expected. Of the guys 1 lap down, though, we had 10 drivers. And that is where this championship's going to be won and lost. And I said this at Road Atlanta the other day. Just because you go down a lap doesn't mean it's game over. Because the individual points that you get, that is what defines your season when you add it up at the very end of the season.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, you look at, 1 lap, Brendan Trost down 1 lap at 3rd place. So, I mean, it's all relative in terms of whether you're a lap down or not, and where you are in the rest of the field. And again, without any yellows, we would see a disparity like that over 150 laps. I would expect that luck we had of having a green flag race from start to finish is probably not going to hold out, and we're going to see a lot closer racing in terms of packing the field up under yellows and seeing some more jostling for positions here.
Now, next time, as I say, we head ourselves over to Barber Motorsports Park, and don't forget, the entire season is here on RaceSpot TV and also on IndyCar.com. Aaron, we've got an incredible season ahead of us. And here's the interesting thing. Just like IndyCar did in 95, 90, that's actually 96, 97. I'm going to be correct here. It's Indianapolis that ends our season. It's 11 rounds. Indy ends it. All roads this year lead to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
And I gotta say, I believe that race will take place December 29th, which will make the holidays just a little bit sweeter, I must admit. But not only is it the most prestigious race of this calendar, it's going to be the championship deciding event. With the 11 races, it's probably going to be really difficult to mathematically have somebody locked out. So, well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter what series, if it's official, if it's a league, if it has Indianapolis and 500 after its name, everybody wants to win it. So if a driver is in position to where if they might make a splash in gas and make it and win the championship, or do they stretch their fuel and win a 500? What will that driver do? Maybe that situation will occur, maybe not, but I can tell you every driver that participates in this race, their season is not complete without the 500 victory.
Regardless of what you've done here today, this is what you do. You build yourself up, you regroup, because all roads lead to Indy here in the 16th Street Racing League. Quite literally, Paul, to the 16th in Georgetown. And it's ironic that we finish this schedule at a place that the track, well, the series is named after.
You know, I was just thinking about that when you're saying all roads quite literally lead to 16th Street. You know, and let me tell you, for the people that are watching these broadcasts, this is the first time you've seen this. It only gets better from here, I promise you. And, you know, you're going to see some intense racing, and you're going to see some excellent sportsmanship. And when we get to Indianapolis, it is going to be amazing. I mean, every bit as exciting as the real thing. Don't miss it. You want to watch. It's going to be great.
Well, next week we head ourselves to the first road course race of the season. That will be Barber Motorsports Park. Round number 3 will take place at Iowa Speedway. Round 4 at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Round number 5, we head ourselves to Wisconsin to the Milwaukee Mile before staying in Wisconsin for round number 6 at Road America. Then it's Pocono Raceway for round 7, Sonoma for round 8, Texas Motor Speedway for road number 9. Then we conclude things off with the final road course race of the season, Upstate New York, Watkins Glen International, and then the final race of the season, the 16th Street Racing League, Indianapolis 500. And we will be with you every step of the way here on Racebot TV, on iRacing Live, on IndyCar.com, and on Racer.com. This has been a Racebot TV presentation of the first round of the 2015 16th Street Racing League here on IndyCar.com, brought to you by Racebot TV as we wrap up the Racer post-race show. IndyCar talks about rivals. For anyone who's never seen sim racing before, they've learned today that even though this is sim racing, the mantra of rivals remains. Thank you very much for watching. A shout out to IndyCar.com, to Racer, to iRacing. I've been Will Vincent. Thank you so much to Aaron Likens and Paul Jenkins. We'll talk to you 1 week from now.